This case is about debt. This estate is deeply in debt, probably somewhere around $150,000 in debt, if you maybe slightly less. That just needs to be divided. And unfortunately, what we have is one party, Miss Cook, who works very hard and tries to make money and bring some assets to the table. And we have one party, Mr. Cook, who doesn't. He's purposefully unemployed and doesn't pay on anything. He's had his car repossessed during the pendency of this case. We don't know necessarily a whole lot about that. We've had issues with discovery where we have tried to get documents. We didn't receive any documents of substance until 2 months after they were due, the day before our motion to compel hearing. And unfortunately, what we're really doing here is dividing up the credit card debt, essentially, and some cars that are deeply underwater, all of which are in my client's name. And so what we're really asking for today is to divide this estate in a way that stops hurting my client. She is having to deal with the credit report reflection of that car being repossessed when she has not had the ability to know how that's being paid, doesn't know who that loan is even with at this point, I don't believe, and doesn't have a whole lot of ability to help herself when it comes to that. And so, the only real asset that has any value at the point, but is not actually vested, is a TRS account that has somewhere around $13,000, $15,000 in it. And I believe they're wanting to get a hold of some of that actual money, and they want to saddle my client with all the debt. And I don't think there's any real explanation for why that is. My client has a job and has a side business where she works very hard. I don't think either of these clients have been great with money. And so while both of them have not had a history of spending money well, at least my client has had a history of trying to earn money, trying to keep this estate somewhere in the green, and has had to deal with the opposing party, Mr. Cook, tanking that. And so we'd ask that when you divide this estate, there's two cars. One of them is a Cadillac Escalade that has $100,000 note, or it has $100,000 balance on it, and is only worth about $75,000. So it's $25,000 underwater. And then we have an Alfa Romeo that has a debt balance of close to $30,000. I believe it's 28,000, which is higher than it was 2 months ago. And that car has been wrecked and repossessed, and we actually don't really know the status of that. We asked for documents related to that, and I think we got one screenshot of what that looks like. We haven't seen any payment history. We haven't seen any of the repossession records. We haven't seen any of the loans or refinances or anything that's gone on there. And so we are really at a point where we just need to have this divorce granted. We believe that respondent Mr. Cook is guilty of cruel treatment that has caused the breakup of this marriage. There has been the testimony is going to be that towards the end of this relationship, Mr. Cook would harass my client when she would try to do work. He would turn off the electricity. When she would try to get out of the house or into the house, he would literally go cut off the electricity and lock the garage so she couldn't get her car out or in. There's been times when he's kicked in the front door. And that type of violence and cruel treatment is the cause of the breakup of this marriage. And we ask you to take that into consideration when you divide this debt, take in the cause of the breakup of the marriage and respondents' inability to work and try to provide anything towards this estate.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Holgate. Ms. Warden. Good morning, Your Honor. The parties were married in late March 2023. They separated the first week of April 2024. So while they've been married almost 2 years, they were really separated for they were married for a year, really. And part of the problem here is I do agree with Mr. Hogan. There is debt and there are cars underwater. And the only thing of real value is the unvested retirement account. But we are asking that you take that account into consideration when dividing the debt here. Because part of our concern is when the parties got married, petitioner had come in with upwards of $100,000 in debt in her own name. And there was debt between the parties that was actually erased with a settlement from Mr. Cook, a settlement that was his separate property that he used to pay off the community debts. His understanding of the balance of the credit cards as of a few months into the marriage in June or July 2023 was the balance was zero on all the cards. And we're talking about 6 credit cards here, all in Miss Cook's name. Mr. Cook did not have access to the cards. He did not have knowledge of the balances. He couldn't pay them off if he wanted to. So he is wondering now how much had been accrued, how it was possible for upwards of over $100,000 in debt to accrue during the 8 months they were together from when the balance was zero. So he does not agree to split the debt that she incurred on her own, and we do have a waste claim in our pleadings that we're requesting the court consider because we believe the evidence will show that there was a lot of waste by petitioner to rack up this credit card debt. It is true she is a hard worker. It is true she has an income of upwards of $12,000 or more a month between her normal job and her side businesses. She does well for herself. She is an entrepreneur. I'm very impressed, to be honest. However, it doesn't explain how she can make $12,000 or more a month and then still rack upwards of $12,000 or more on a credit card. And because I haven't seen a proposed disposition of issues, I do not know if she's asking the credit card debt to be split up until the date today, or since the marriage technically ended in April of 2023, I do not know. But we are asking that he not be responsible for any of that debt accrued during marriage in her own name. Particularly, we believe, again, the evidence will show that she's used it on her personal trips, her business, the business she wants 100% of. We are asking each keep their own cars. We are asking that the court take into consideration the value of the retirement that is community property. We are asking that each keep the debt in their own name. We will also show today that the reason for divorce was petitioner was threatening to post pictures of herself online that respondent was not comfortable with. One of our exhibits will show she threatened divorce because of this. The cruel and unusual nature that they pled about a month and a half ago. It was a new pleading, and we don't believe there will be any evidence of abuse or cruel treatment. We believe there is a lot of waste. So again, we are asking that Mr. Cook not be responsible for the waste of Mrs. Cook. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Forden. Mr. Holguin, who do you call as your first witness?
I'll call Mallory Cook.
All right, Ms. Cook, if you'll please unmute your device and raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any of the testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, can you turn your volume up just a little bit?
Sure.
Or maybe a lot. I don't know. Let's make sure Ms. Crane can hear you, okay?
Can everybody hear me?
That's better.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Will you state your name for the record?
My name is Mallory Catherine Cook.
And you are married to Mr. Kassar Cook?
Correct.
When were you married?
March 27th, 2023.
Okay. And you've heard Ms. Warden's opening statement regarding the debt when you were first married.
Mhm.
Can you explain to the court what the debt situation was like when you first got married?
Sure. Really, before the relationship began, I didn't have any debt aside from I had a fraud situation take place where someone got a hold of my information. Up until that point, I had moved to Austin in March of 2021. And I had a good chunk in the bank and I didn't have any debt. The fraud situation happened that August. We began seeing one another and the debt started accruing quite heavily once we began dating. When we went into the actual marriage, then we were dealing with wedding debt. So the settlement that she's referring to, that went to pay a good chunk of that wedding debt. But I never had $100,000 in personal debt. And we both had agreed that that debt was going to pay towards the wedding with the settlement.
Okay.
I'll kind of redirect you. The essentially what you're saying is that there was some debt on credit cards on the date of marriage.
Correct.
Did you guys accrue that debt together during your dating relationship?
Yes. So while we were dating, anything that we did, food, trips, etc., I had to pay for that in totality, all of the bills, etc. I paid all utility bills.
And why is it that you had to pay all of the utility bills?
He just simply didn't have the money or didn't choose to contribute.
Okay. Is some of the debt that was racked up during your dating marriage, what portion of that was attributed to the money you spent helping him try to start an insurance business?
So when you work in insurance, you have to purchase leads. So I had a credit card, the cash reflect card or the cash card from Wells Fargo that he had put several thousand in leads on. Anytime that he had to use my credit cards for things like that, he promised that he would pay them back, but nothing was ever paid back at any point.
Okay. Is it true you were spending thousands of dollars a month on those leads for him to do this insurance business?
Yes, that did take place several times.
Okay. And did Mr. Cook have a credit card that he could use to pay for any of these things?
To my knowledge, he had 2 credit cards that were only at a $500 limit each. So he really didn't have the purchasing power because, again, these leads were thousands of dollars.
And so you took on that debt on a credit card in your name, even though it was debt accrued in his benefit.
Correct.
You have two vehicles together, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about the status of the 2021 Cadillac Escalade.
It's currently sitting in my parents' garage. I have not driven it since the day I left the house that we shared together on April the 8th of this year, in order to preserve it and not put any more miles on it, not let anything happen to it so that I can get as much money out of it as possible because it's upside down about $25,000.
And what do you know about the 2018 Alfa Romeo?
So payments were not being made for several months. So from March, April through May, payments were not being made. Ally Financial was calling. It was he did make one payment in May to maintain possession of the car. And then after that, did not make any more payments. Ally Financial called me many times, even called my mother. I'm not sure how they got her information. The car was repossessed. And then somehow Kassar was able to get it out of repossession. I'm assuming a personal loan, perhaps. And then since he's gotten that car out of repossession, not a single payment has been made to Ally Financial. They've been calling me again.
Okay. So to this day, we've never received any documents that has shown us how he got that car out of repossession, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are you concerned about him keeping that car and that continuing to hurt your credit?
Absolutely.
What is your plan? What would be your plan to do with either of these cars? What would you be asking the court to do today?
I need to immediately divest myself of my vehicle. It's too expensive. I can't afford it. It was an ill-advised purchase to begin with. And I've just been making payments on it and driving my mom's car as to not let anything happen to this vehicle so that we can get as much out of it as possible. But I need to immediately get rid of this car.
And so you would, if you could, sell this car, correct?
Absolutely.
Are you asking the court to order that this car be sold?
Yes, the only reason I hesitate is because I'm going to have to pay out of pocket the $25,000 that I'm upside down on this vehicle. So I have to work with my parents. There's some hoops I'm going to have to jump through, but as soon as I possibly can, in some way, shape, or form, I do need to divest myself of it. Yes.
And so alternatively, you asked that the car be awarded to you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then the Alfa Romeo, are you asking court order that to be sold?
It would either need to be sold or refinanced in only Kassar's name so that I'm not attached in any way to this vehicle.
You believe that Mr. Kassar can in any way refinance this car in just his name?
In just his name, probably not, no.
Okay. Do you think there's a way that he could refinance it out of your name?
If he was able to get a cosigner, perhaps.
Without that occurring, do you believe he will continue to not pay on that debt and it will continue to hurt you into the future?
Absolutely.
Okay. Your teacher retirement, your TRS account, has that vested yet?
No, it does not vest until 5 years. I'm 2 years in.
Okay. And so you actually have no idea if you'll receive any of that, correct?
Correct. I would have to remain at the university for 5 years or within the Texas system in order for me to have access to any of that.
Okay. And so that's not an actual asset that you can cash out. The literal cash value of that as of today is technically $0, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You have a business, the Curious Blonde, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What is that business?
It's a small jewelry business. Essentially, I have a booth inside of a store called Painted Tree that just has a bunch of local vendors. Initially, I was trying to sell outside of that on my own, but with this divorce and everything that comes along with it, I have taken a step back. And so I just have that booth inside Painted Tree. They handle all of the sales throughout the month. They take my rent for the following month out, and then I receive a check the beginning of each month. Last month was $200 some.
Okay. And about on average, how much do you think you earn a month from that business?
Initially, my checks were closer to the 800 range, but lately they've been 300. So
Okay.
not much when you look at what I have to invest.
Okay. So over the year, how long has the Curious Blonde been in business?
Since the beginning of this year.
Okay. And so by the end of this year that we're in December, do you think you'll make over $10,000 from that business?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think you will make over $15,000 from that business?
Yes.
Okay. How much do you think you'll be making from that business kind of in total for the year?
Is this deducting all of the cost?
Yeah, the net earn.
With cost deducted, I would say probably between 15 and 20,000.
Okay. And then you have a job currently as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay. How much do you earn from that job?
$98,000.
Okay. And
but a lot is taken out in the TRS and things like that. So my take home pay is around $5,500 a month,
okay.
plus the couple hundred from the jewelry. So still less than $6,000 a month.
Okay. And with that, you're still, even with that income, the debt that has accrued through your relationship with Mr. Cook, how much are your credit card payments in total, if you could average that out?
Because of where things are at right now, the credit card payments alone supersede my income completely. Probably 5,000-6,000.
Okay.
Because of interest as well. I mean, it's gotten pretty out of control.
Okay.
Gonna keep up.
You have some of those cards in some kind of recovery plan, is that correct?
Yeah, I have a couple of them in a rehabilitation program. So these cards have not been used since the split. I have only used my debit card almost this entire year. And I just solely make payments. According to the rehabilitation program, you can't use the account. So you're just making a monthly payment.
Okay. I want to talk to you about, you heard me mention cruel treatment being cause of breakup of this. Has there been some cruel treatment that's occurred kind of throughout your relationship?
Yes.
Okay. When did that you filed for divorce somewhere near the beginning of this year, February or March of this year, correct?
Mhm. Yes, in March.
Okay. And immediately prior to that, what was going on in your relationship that that you caused you to understand and realize you needed to leave that relationship?
There was a lot of control, and a lot of complete fabrications. So, just for example, a situation where I was typically at home in bed very, very early. I like to go to sleep early, and Cass would be up late doing DoorDash or Uber Eats. He wouldn't come home until, the AM hours. And one night, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, he came in screaming and waking me up, telling me that my engine was hot, that he had gotten into my car, hacked into my Apple CarPlay, saw that I was at some, or thought I was at some address, and that I was cheating on him that night, and that my car was still hot. I had been in bed with my dog for hours. I had talked to my mom on FaceTime from my bed, my skincare all on, my pajamas on. And it was things like that where he would completely fabricate situations where he was convinced I was cheating on him or doing all of these nefarious things. Like if I was leaving the house and I had any makeup on or I looked any somewhat presentable, he would track my location and call incessantly to see where I was. Another example, I was going to get a camera fix that I had bought off of Facebook Marketplace. It needed a new part, and there was only one place in Austin, this little old foreign guy that worked on cameras, and he had asked where this camera shop was. And I kind of told him like a ballpark of where I thought it was, but I was off. I was wrong. I don't know Austin that well. And so when I actually got to where I was going, he was convinced I was at some apartment complex cheating on him. I had to send him a photo of the camera shop, where I was, what I was doing. Things like that. Just an overwhelming sense of I'm controlled by this person. I can't see my friends. I can't look presentable when I leave the house. I can't do anything without being tracked.
Okay. There have been some instances of physical violence during your relationship, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to object to leading on that, Your Honor.
Yeah, if you can rephrase, Mr. Holguin, but just
Sure.
go on to your next question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just watch the
What types of physical violence have you endured during your relationship with Mr. Cook?
One of the first examples I can think of is my birthday a couple of years ago. We had been out with friends and we came home and I was heating up leftovers, and he was very mad that I was warming up food. And he threw a mug at me from across the room and it shattered on the concrete floor. He shoved me and ripped a chunk of my hair out. It was so bad that night that I had to call a friend to come stay with me. He had a friend come and extract him from our apartment. And we locked the door. My friend and I went to sleep in my apartment. His friend took him and was going to take him back to his place for the night. They went to the strip club. And then at some point around 3 a.m., Cass actually came and somehow got into the deadbolted cement door in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning in our apartment. When he wasn't to come back that evening because of the violence that had occurred. So that was when we were just still dating.
Okay. And that was when he came back, was he then did he kind of put you in a position of fear after that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the leading.
Try not to lead, Mr. Holguin.
Understood, Your Honor.
Question.
You heard me mention a little bit about him kind of turning off the electricity and that kind of thing. Can you tell me what was going on when during that time and what he was doing when he would kind of when that stuff was going on, I suppose?
That was towards the very end of the relationship. Actually, one of the times he shut off the electricity at the breaker was when I was online trying to file for divorce. He also did it when the girls were at the house. So a couple of my friends were at the house after I had filed that initial petition. It was a very unsafe, tumultuous time. And the girls were staying at the house, and he was calling the cops incessantly, trying to get them removed from the house, and was shutting off the electricity to the upstairs where they were staying. He also would disable the garage door semi-frequently so that I couldn't operate the garage door or get in and out of the garage.
What steps were you taking to protect yourself from the fear you were feeling during that time?
All I could do was talk to my mom and just keep her in the loop so that she had an understanding of what was going on. There wasn't much I could do. To be honest, he would leave the house and was gone a lot. I don't know what he was doing or where he was. But I felt maybe the best or safest when he was just gone from the house, because I have a dog and I have a job that I had to be present and available for. I can't just, take all of my whole setup with me. I had to be there present. I also had this side jewelry business, right? And so my inventory, my printer to print labels, everything was right there. So it wasn't a situation where I could easily just up and leave, but the best thing I could do is just keep my mom informed of what was going on.
And so, who, what steps would you take before, you knew he was coming home?
It was a lot of mental preparation, because it's a lot of walking on eggshells. You don't know the mood or what types of fabricated scenarios could be taking place, or what I was going to have to defend myself against or combat, because I can't foresee what someone's completely fabricating out of nothing, and I always feel like the truth stems.
I'll go ahead and kind of.
Sorry, go ahead.
How would you ensure that there was a witness when Mr. Cook would come home?
Really, a lot of this time I spent with no witnesses at all to anything that was going on. But towards the end, I would have my mom on FaceTime.
And how often were you on FaceTime when Mr. Cook came home?
Constantly. At the end, almost all of the time.
And what was there a time when you were on the FaceTime with your mother when you decided it was unsafe to be there and you needed to leave?
Yeah, there was a very specific moment. I knew it, but I probably wouldn't have done it myself.
Okay. Is that the day that you left the house?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that day?
Yeah. He had taken my phone and hid it, and he was accusing me of cheating. And he took the cord to my printer and shut off the electricity to the house. And my mom heard a lot of that. And once he left, my mom walked me through how to go to the breaker and turn the electricity back on. And while I was doing that, he came back in the house. And I was so panicked with fear, because he's a large person. And so if he wanted to really hurt me, he could. He slammed the door into me. That was not probably his intent, because he didn't know I was behind in the breaker. And I remember just the sheer panic. And my mom said, "You need to get out of there now."
And then that's the day you left.
Yes,
and that was,
that's the day I left. And
and
I
that was
never stayed there again.
And that was due to the treatment, the cruel treatment you were enduring from Mr. Cook.
Correct.
Again, objection to the leading, Your Honor.
I'm going to sustain the objection, Mr. Oldbean.
Understood, Your Honor. So you guys have, as I added up today, somewhere slightly over $100,000 in credit card debt. Is that correct?
It could be.
And that credit card debt is, other than one credit card is in your name, correct?
All of those credit cards are in my name, aside from the cards that he has on his own. I don't know the status of those at all, but he was an authorized user on 3 of those cards, and he physically had a card of his own that he would use that linked to those credit card accounts.
And so as an authorized user, could he access those credit cards?
Absolutely.
Was he aware of the debt that was on those credit cards?
Yes, all of the time, because I expressed to him constantly that I was drowning and I needed help desperately.
And did he use those credit cards for his personal expenses as well?
Yes, in fact, one card only he used. I made payments and I did not use it at all. Only he was using that card.
Okay. You understand that when we divide this property, we can't exactly refinance those credit cards into his name, correct?
Yes, I do understand.
And so what are you asking the court to do today regarding the debt for those credit cards?
I'm asking the court to put him in a position where he has, whatever appropriate amount of time to figure out how to pay his fair portion.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, Miss Warden.
Ms. Cook, did you receive monetary gifts for your wedding?
We did receive some, yes, most of which came prior to the wedding, in a website we had set up called Zola, where people could do gifts through there. And so almost all of that money came prior to the wedding and was used for the wedding. Our wedding costs about $75,000.
So, and I'm just going to try to stick to yes or no questions for the sake of time, but let me ask you, were any monetary cash gifts given after you'd gotten married?
There was some physical cards with some actual cash in them, I believe, but maybe $50 here or there. It was very nominal at that point.
Okay. So your testimony is the cash you received for the wedding, you received before the wedding and paid
Correct.
for the wedding.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And at one point early in your marriage, were your credit cards at zero ever?
Yes, they were.
And can you give me a date on that, please?
My credit cards were at zero at the beginning of my relationship with Kassar Cook. But as we began dating, we lived together. So it would have been in 2022, March of 2022.
And maybe I didn't ask this correctly. During your marriage, while y'all were married,
Mhm.
did you ever have a total of zero balance?
No, never.
Okay,
Never.
thank you. And then how you said he had access to 3 of the cards. How many
Yes.
cards do you have total?
6.
6. Okay. And so 3 of the cards, did he ever have access to 3 of the 6?
No, I would make the purchases for both of us on those.
Okay, thank you. And then the access he had to those 3, when was the last time he had access to those 3 cards?
He still has access. In fact, has tried to use in the past month one of the cards.
Okay, so your understanding is that he still has access to 3 of your credit cards?
Well, 2 of them are in a rehabilitation program, so neither of us have access to using them.
So I guess that was actually my next question. Thank you. Okay. And I didn't hear a date on when you entered the rehabilitation program.
It would have been shortly after. Gosh, I wish I had that information. It's been quite a while. All of my statements that have been submitted would show that 801 pay, the very specific payments every single month since I've been in that rehab program. But it's probably been 8 months or so, 8-9 months.
So for at least the last 8 or 9 months, Mr. Cook has not had access to 2 of the 3 cards.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. And y'all separated. So 8 months ago would be about April 2024 when y'all separated.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. But prior to that, again, you're saying he had access to 3 of the credit cards.
Yes.
Okay. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you. Now, in discovery, you said that you never received any gifts during the marriage over $500. Do you recall that?
Gifts meaning what?
Whether it be money or property.
My mom had to help us pay bills on Kassar's behalf several times. I'm not sure if that's considered a gift.
Well, let me ask you this. During the, let's say, year y'all were married. I know you're still married now, but I'm just trying to keep it basically April
Right.
1st to April 1st. Okay. During that year, did your mom give you any money?
She gave us money only to pay for bills. So my mom had given money to help pay for the wedding prior to the marriage. And then she gave very specific amounts of money to pay very specific bills, like his cell phone, help me toward his car payment, or help toward his portion of rent. That was it.
And where did she send this money? Did she put it in a joint account for y'all?
No, the only money she put in a joint account was for the wedding, but prior to the marriage, she either Zelled Kassar personally or Zelled me personally.
Okay, thank you. And you said you're not driving the Cadillac, but are you driving a car?
I'm driving my mother's car.
Okay. And she hasn't gifted that to you, correct?
No.
Okay. You plan on giving that car back?
Yes, as soon as I can get into a reasonable vehicle of my own.
Okay. All right. And you're getting your mom a nice gift for Mother's Day, right?
I can't afford to, but she'll get all my love.
Well, that's priceless. Okay. Now let me just go over your income a little bit. I think I saw a pay stub. It seems like not take home, but you get almost 8,000 a month in gross.
I wish. Potentially. I think 7,000 something. My take home is around 55.
Okay. And then you mentioned Curious Blonde. That's your side business. And
Yes.
you sell off a website, correct?
I do. I don't really have any sales off of that website at this point because I'm not marketing the business at all. It's very small. So pretty much everything that happens at this juncture comes through the Painted Tree Boutique.
Thank you. That was my next question. All right. And then you mentioned inventory and a printer. About how much would you say you have in inventory?
At this point, probably only $1,000 in inventory. I haven't had the funds to purchase more inventory in a very, very long time. Arguably, since Kasar and I have been together, I've just been selling the small amount that I do have, which is why I can't promote the business.
So how much is your printer worth?
I don't have the printer. It's actually, Kasar had originally purchased the printer that was in our home that I had used. I'm just using my parents' printer now.
So is your testimony that the inventory for your Curious Blonde business is about $1,000?
Yes.
Okay. Is it safe to say the value of the business then is based off the inventory?
Yes, there are no other assets that the business has besides a couple of folding tables and chairs.
Thank you. Now, you did a kind of garage sale in August of this year. Is that right?
Yes.
And is that through Curious Blonde, your company?
The garage sale is a kind of a big vendor event, and the Curious Blonde did have a booth at Le Garage Sale, yes.
And how much did you make at that event?
12,000.
So that's 12,000 in one weekend?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And does that only happen once a year?
It happens 2 times a year.
And is about 12,000 for that weekend a normal amount to get?
Yes. Well, for my business, I've only done it 2 times. So my first was January, and then my second was in August.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And if you sold does that mean you sold $12,000 worth of inventory?
No, that's 12,000 in sales. The
Okay.
inventory is a much, much, much smaller number than that.
Right, sorry. So because there's a markup, right?
Huge, huge profit margin.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I noticed a lot of deposits from a Monet business, and on average, it used to be about 4,000 to 5,000 a month.
Towards the end of the business, it was more like 2,000 to 3,000 a month, but there were times that, yes, it was that. It was just a 1099 commission solely based business. And that was dissolved in June of this year. And when it was dissolved, the checks were more between 2,000 and 3,000.
Thank you. That was my next question. So Monet isn't your business. You are an independent contractor.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay. But at one point you were making on average 4,000 to 5,000 a month as a subcontractor.
At one point, yes.
Okay. And that includes your take home pay of over 5,000.
No, at the time I wasn't making, are you referring to my salary career?
I'm sorry. Yes. Your salaried career. Yes.
So as I have decreased and lost money in the Monet business, I was able to increase my income in the University of Texas at San Antonio. So I started there making only a couple $1,000s a month at UTSA. And so that has risen as the other has fallen and as I progressed in my career there.
Got it. Thank you. And then the Curious Blonde was started during marriage, right?
Yes.
Okay. And to purchase inventory in a website, in a print, or whatever you purchased for the business, did you use your credit cards?
I did. I used my credit card. And after that very first Le Garage sale that did so well, better than I ever could have anticipated, I was able to pay a ton of that off at that time.
And I'm sorry, when you say you paid your card, what card are you referring to?
It's the Wells Fargo Built card that's only in my name. So at that time, as far as the inventory that I had to purchase, I was able to pay that off with the sales from Lake Garage sale in January.
And are you asking him to pay any of the built balance?
Well, since then, the built balance has become not jewelry. It was used to purchase a lot of other things. I was able to pay the jewelry debt with Lake Garage sale money from January. We are looking at the debt kind of as a total number when we look at the split. But initially, no, I didn't ask him to take any of the built balance. I had assigned very specific credit cards that he used and had access to, and that all of the things that he possesses were purchased on, because in his current apartment, he's got about $15,000 worth of things that were purchased on these cards.
Okay, and I guess I was confused because you said you paid off your card, and you mean the built credit card.
I paid off the jewelry debt on the built card, yes.
All righty, thank you. And so currently you make the income from your salaried job of a little over 5,000, and then you have your Curious Blonde, and that varies a month, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then you stopped doing Monet in June or July of this year?
June.
June, thank you. And then what is this Soul People business?
There is no business. So I had originally purchased a product pack to start a new business as I lost my Monet income. But then, I had received from you guys wanting information on that. And I knew I wasn't in a position where I could start a new business due to this divorce.
So, and is Soul People, is it, my understanding is it's vitamins, nutrients?
It's health supplements. Yeah. But I'm not affiliated with them whatsoever. I never made a sale or worked that business at all.
How much did you purchase in inventory from them?
I purchased an initial product pack for $1,500.
Okay, thank you. And you never sold any of that?
Never sold anything.
Okay, and that 1,500, did you consume those nutrients?
I consumed them, yes.
Sorry. Okay, and that 1,500, what card did you use for that?
My debit card, my personal debit card.
Okay, thank you. And you, as far as bank accounts, you have your one checking account, correct?
Correct.
And then you have an account with your mom, right?
Yes, we have an inactive joint account.
And I believe you just sent the last statement. There's about $7 in that with your mom, right?
Correct.
Okay. In your one checking account right now, what is the current balance?
About $2,000.
Okay. Thank you. And would you be surprised? Do you agree that Mr. Cook has only one checking account?
To my knowledge, yes.
All right. All righty. And just a few more questions for you, Ms. Cook. Let's see. As far as health insurance, were you covering Mr. Cook on your health insurance?
Yes, I still am.
Okay. Are you surprised to know that the coverage stopped in September of this year?
Yes, because I'm still paying for it.
Okay. Did you receive any proof from your attorney or Mr. Cook that, in fact, Mr. Cook has not been covered since September?
No, because my institution requires that I have official divorce documents to even remove him. So the only thing that he would not have at this point is dental. I did cancel the dental insurance, but the actual health insurance, I legally am not able to take him off until there is divorce paperwork.
And maybe that clears it up. Thank you. And when did you cancel the dental insurance?
Oh gosh, open enrollment period, I think, was like July 31st. I don't use the dental. I don't think he's using the dental. I think dental insurance is a sham. So I canceled that, but that was just kind of an elective. Have to keep the actual medical. That is not a choice that I have.
Okay. And that dental was that July 2024?
Yes, that would have been open enrollment period of this year. So July 2024.
And did you let him know that you were canceling his dental coverage?
No, because I have for the most part not been in contact with him.
Okay, thank you. And then I think that's about all the questions for you. Thanks, Ms. Cook.
Thank you.
Mr. Holguin, anything else from Ms. Bromwich?
Your Honor, I believe our exhibits have been sent over, and I don't know if we need to take just a short break for Ms. Warden to review them. I was really just going to introduce one of the photos at this point.
Okay, let me see. We can go off the record, Ms. Crane. They're not coming in yet from me, but let's see if Miss Warden can see them. Maybe I need to go back here.
My paralegal said she sent it to the court, so let me
Oh,
check.
so you're talking about, but just by email.
I believe so, Your Honor.
All right. Oh, yeah, I see them now. I was looking in box. We'll need them in box at some point, but let me just check in with Miss Crane.
And I just asked her to put it in box.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a few minutes and let Miss Warden, have you gotten an email with those?
Yep.
Okay, let's take it's 10:15. Let's try and be back by 10:25. And give you a few minutes with those. And then if you can get them into box, Mr. Holguin, so Miss Crane can pull them out of there.
She was
For our
thank you for
record.
being there. Sorry,
Okay.
They're supposed to be marked. There's no label on them, so I don't know if you'll have the ability to do that before you put them in box.
Yeah, if
See
she
labels.
if she can before she puts them in box, add that label, the P1, P2, so that I mean the file itself has the label, but the document itself needs to be labeled just like we would in court. So if she can do that. All right. We'll see everybody back in about 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Let's see. So, Miss Warden, have you had a chance to look over those exhibits?
I have, Your Honor, and I do object to the two photos.
Are we going back on the record yet?
Well, yeah, let's wait and go back on the record. Okay.
Oh.
All right. We're back from our break. Miss Warden, have you had a chance to review the exhibits from Mr. Olkeen?
I have, Your Honor, and I object to the two photos. I believe they're petitioners marked petitioners 1 and 2.
And what's the basis of the objection?
Because they're just pictures, I'm not clear. I think they're ambiguous. That's one of the objections. I don't know what it's referring to.
Well, that's what testimony is for. So, well, let's see, Mr. Olguin, the witness, Ms. Bromlish, if you can unmute your device, it's back to you if you've got some redirect.
Okay. And I'm gonna try to do screen share. If you'll give me just a moment, sorry. So I can be ready for that. Miss Cook, you mentioned there was an incident where some of your hair had been pulled out during a violent altercation with Mr. Cook. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Exhibit 1, I believe. Do you know the photo I'm referring to?
Yes,
Okay. And that photo, who took that photo?
I did.
And did you take that at or near the time of that incident?
Yes.
Okay. And is that photo a fair and accurate depiction of the event that occurred that night?
Yes.
Okay. Has it been altered in any way?
No.
Okay. And can you tell us a time frame for when this picture was taken?
Probably around between 12 and 1 a.m. The morning of my birthday in 2022.
I haven't exactly shown it, but I know Mrs. Borden has seen it, and we'd offer Exhibit 1.
And Your Honor, also, I'm going to object to the relevance of it. This, I believe, was prior to the marriage. If that's the statement from Ms. Cook.
That's my understanding as well. But I am going to overrule that objection and admit P1. Next, Mr. Olguin.
Ms. Cook, just to summarize, are there any other moments of cruel treatment that you've endured from Mr. Cook that you want the court to know about?
Yeah, there were a lot, and I will say this is my first time dealing with a lot of navigating these type of behaviors. And so it was not necessarily my first instinct ever to document things. I was a little bit shell shocked by what I was trying to navigate. Really just a lot of instances where I was being accused of being a person and doing things that I would never do. And I've also never given this person any indication whatsoever that I would ever do those things. And so it was a very confusing mental hopscotch.
Let me try to redirect you a little. What kind of specific instances can you talk about where he had treated you cruelly?
There was a day where I needed to go to Home Goods. We had recently moved into a new apartment together, and Home Goods is a great place to get some items. And I got presentable. I was not dressed up by any means, but I put a little bit of makeup on and I was presentable. And he was incredibly skeptical of the fact that I was putting makeup on. I left to go to Home Goods, but forgot that at this time I was working my Monate business, and I often would do three-way calls with potentials. So I, with one of my business partners, would hop on a call with someone interested in doing the business with us, and we would do calls like that all of the time. I forgot that I had a call with a potential. So on my way to Home Goods, I stopped at a Starbucks, parked my car, went in to take my call, and he thought that I was cheating on him. So he didn't have a car at the time, was only using my car. And since I had the car, he scootered to where I was to try to find me because he thought I was cheating on him. And that was one of the first times it really set in, oh my gosh, like this is serious.
And were there multiple times in your relationship when he would show up to places where you were when
Tons, yes. Yes.
Okay. And then during the pendency of this divorce, did he, what type of behaviors did you see through text message that forced you to stop communicating with him?
He contacted almost everybody in my life, text messages, voice messages to all of my friends, all of my family, telling them they didn't actually know who I was, that I was cheating on him, having an affair, doing all of these horrible things, that they shouldn't trust me, and got to the point where, most of the people in my life had to block him on their cell phones. But I knew that there was no reason for me to continue conversation. It wasn't a healthy thing.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Anything else, Ms. Warden?
Just to follow up. So, is it true that Mr. Cook has accused you of adultery?
Yes.
Has he shown you items he has found, male items that are not his?
Yes.
Okay. So he's had some discussions with you about his concerns?
Yes.
Okay. And then at one point, isn't it true you were threatening divorce because you wanted to post pictures of yourself online that he did not agree to?
Absolutely not true.
Okay. I am going to share with you what's been marked as Respondent's Exhibit number 4. And you let me know when you can. Do you see this, Miss Cook?
No, now I do.
Okay. And is that you in that icon?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe this is a conversation between you and Mr. Cook. Do you recognize this conversation?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And is this you in the black saying clock is ticking? I wouldn't waste. Oh.
Yes.
Okay. So do you recall that conversation?
Your Honor, if she's going to be stating the words in these text messages, testifying to the words in those text messages, this document needs to be admitted first.
So I think you mean to go back to R1, Ms. Warden?
I'm trying, Your Honor. My screen's getting a little upset here. And so, Ms. Cook, you recall this conversation. Is this an
Yes.
accurate description of the conversation?
Yes.
Okay.
From what I can see of it, yes.
Okay. And I'm sorry, my computer's a little slow here, but and did you alter this text in any way to your knowledge?
Did I alter the
Yes.
text?
This image at all?
No, this image didn't come from me.
Your Honor, I move to admit Response Exhibit number 4, which opposing counsel should have had a copy of already.
And Your Honor, I do object that she's trying to lay the foundation through my client, and the message clearly states that the message that came from her client says edited. And so I don't know what it said before it was edited, and so it clearly is edited. I don't think she's going to be able to properly lay the foundation through my client.
So Ms. Warden, why does it say edited there?
I
think
don't,
maybe we better get it in through your client.
I'm happy to get it in through my client.
And but that takes me back, Mr. Holguin, did you offer P1? Or
On my exhibit, you said that it was admitted, Your Honor.
oh, I did? Okay, I was trying to keep notes of that. And Miss Train, did I? Okay, got it. All right, go ahead, Miss Warden. Sorry about that.
No problem. No further questions for this witness, Your Honor. Pass.
All right, so we're done. That's 2 rounds with her. So Ms. Barlins, you can go ahead and mute your device. Mr. Holguin, who would you like to call as your next witness?
Call Mr. Cook.
All right, Mr. Cook, if you'll unmute your device, please, and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any of the testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, if you'll turn up your volume just a little bit too, just to make sure we hear you.
This is as loud as it goes. It's that I'll speak a little bit louder if I have to. But
No, that's better. That's better. All right, Mr. Holguin, go ahead.
Will you state your name for the record?
Yep, Kassar Robert Baumgartner Cook.
And you're married to Mrs. Mallory Cook?
I am.
Okay. You've heard her testimony today, correct?
I have.
And you heard her speak about funds she contributed on her credit cards to your benefit through business expenditures for insurance, attempts to build an insurance business, and through paying bills to support you as well. Do you disagree with any of that testimony?
I don't disagree to anything that she said. She has contributed to my insurance business in the past at some points, but it was a rare occasion when she did.
And you agree that she used those credit cards to pay your living expenses together, your bills together
No.
At times?
No, she wanted to be in charge of the utility bills. She wanted to be in charge of that. That's something she wanted to be in charge of, but she did not pay for my living expenses like rent. There were some cases where her mom or like my parents had to step in and help me out financially just because I was going through a rough time with my job. But no, other than that, I paid for my car. I paid for my expenses.
Okay. Tell me what you do right now for work.
Sure. So right now I work for a company called JJP&I. It's a commission-based only. They're working on getting a salary for me, but right now the company is very small. So we work on fixing people's credit. So I work with a lot of credit card companies and also getting people funding for their businesses if they want to start it. Before my car was repoed, I was also working for a company called Soho Catering, which is a wedding caterer where I would go and be, I guess, a bartender and or just part of the crew for weddings. And then I was also doing Uber Eats, DoorDashing on the side. I was working 20-hour days in order to try to restart my life.
Interesting. You know that we've issued you a request for production, a request for interrogatories, and a request for admissions in this case, correct?
Correct. I no longer work with Soho because of my car and I can't do Uber Eats or DoorDash.
I'll just stop you. Objection to the unresponsive after correct, Your Honor.
All right, sustained. Just listen carefully to the question, Mr. Baumgartner Cook, and answer just that question. Go ahead.
So did you ever provide any documents related to your work at JJPI?
No, because there is none to provide.
Well, you said you work for them. How is there no documents to provide?
So there's no documents to provide because I haven't been by them because it's, again, business has been extremely slow with them. I haven't been paid by them. So I've been mainly my dad's been helping me out a lot. And I've also been,
excuse me, is it kind of low or kind of breaking up for anybody else? I'm just not hearing.
Yeah, it is. It's breaking up a little bit. And it's not in sync with the video. So that I think can be a problem for the court reporter as well. Can you try turning off, well, the video, Mr. Cook, and speak a few words to see if that comes in a little bit clearer?
Absolutely. Does this work a little bit better?
Say a few more lines.
Is this working? Is this working better? My name is Cass. This is
What do you
going
think?
in and out.
What do you think, Ms. Green?
We can try that, but if you would talk a little slower too and loud, that might help too. So.
Sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
Next question, Mr. Oldine.
Okay, so I'm confused. You do work for JJPI or you don't work for JJPI?
I work for JJP&I. Yes.
Okay. When's the last time you worked for them?
It's been about I would say about 3 to 4 months.
Okay. Did you provide us any income statements from the time of your marriage in 2023 to current that would show any income or work being done with JJP&I?
Yes, I have. It should be on the chase statements that I provided to you.
Your discovery responses were due on October 12th of 2024. Did you provide any, or maybe October 11th, actually, I believe. Did you provide any statements at that time?
So when you mean statements, you mean statements from the company, correct, as income statements?
Oh, I actually mean any statements at all of any
Yes,
kind.
I have. Yes, I have.
You provided us with your documents?
I provided my attorney Jessica with those documents, which should have been provided to you.
In October of 2024?
To my knowledge, yes.
Are you aware that we actually haven't received any credible statements from you until last Friday on December 6th of 2024?
I know.
Objection, misstating
during-
facts, Your Honor.
Hold on a second. Can we go off the record?
Yes, Your Honor.
Warden and Mr. Olguin. So, Ms. Warden, was the discovery just not answered? What's happening here?
Oh, no, Your Honor, the
You're
discovery was answered. We've been having numerous discovery issues. In fact, we had a hearing Friday and I got a big dump of information Tuesday morning.
I'm talking about your responses to Mr. Olguin.
That he has had everything.
Since when?
Oh, well, there was another attorney on the case we were sending stuff to as well since June or July.
So, Mr. Olguin, what are we talking about here?
We didn't receive any documents from them at all until mediation, when we received portions of bank statements. We received like the first page or sometimes half of a first page of those bank statements when that was requested during mediation. The only actual credible documents that we could use and discern what income was coming in or anything like that was provided on the day before our compel hearing, which was on Friday, Your Honor.
And I disagree with that, Your Honor. And we had it again, we hashed out all our discovery on Friday. We spent hours on what we needed from each other. And again, got a huge dump from them Tuesday morning yesterday. So we're all working with what we got here.
All right. Well, let's go back on the record then. So, I mean, I guess, Mr. Olguin, if you'll continue with your next question, I don't necessarily expect that Mr. Baumgartner Cook can tell you when things were produced, if given the circumstances.
Okay, I'll try to move on a little bit. Mr. Cook, how much money have you made from JJP&I this year?
To ballpark it, sir, I would probably say anywhere around maybe 3,000 to 4,000 this year.
Okay.
I was employed by another company prior to this that did the same thing called Credit Leverage Acts, which I left in March. Okay.
And did you ever provide any contracts for employment or documents related to your whether they give you retirement or insurance benefits or anything like that during the pendency of this divorce?
No, it's 1099 commission based only.
Okay. Do you receive any retirement?
No, I do not.
Tell me about this 2018 Alfa Romeo that was repossessed at some point during the pendency of this divorce, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so you were not making payments on that car for how long?
About 3 to 4 months until it was repossessed in my apartment.
And you've gotten that car out of repossession, correct?
I have.
How did you do that?
So it took me a month to get it, to find where it was. I was on the phone with Ally. I did try contacting Mallory in order for her to help me since we're both on the car. I had to pay around $4,200 to get it out of the repossession on top of paying for a $3,000 rental in order to continue working at the.
That answers my question. Thank you. Where did you get the $4,500 to pay that off?
My dad did help me quite a bit. It was also a personal loan that I got through a couple different lenders that helped.
Okay. Have you provided us any documentation to that personal loan you took out during the pendency of the divorce?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. He said it was also a personal loan that I got through something.
Through a few different lenders.
Okay, repeat your other question.
Okay, so it's through a few different lenders. You have several personal loans now that you did not have at the beginning of this divorce?
I have 2 personal loans that are very of minimal amounts that, again, don't really cover the entirety of the repossession cost of getting the car out, which, again, my father helped quite a bit.
Did you provide us with any documents related to those personal loans?
I do not believe so.
How do you expect to continue to pay for the 2018 Alfa Romeo if you keep that car?
So right now I'm on a payment plan with them to pay off the car. I have been actively applying to jobs nonstop in order to get a more stable salary position somewhere in Austin here. So that's taking right now.
Okay, but as of now,
no, hold on. Repeat the very end there, Mr. Baumgartner Cook. I can hear you.
I'm sorry. So yes, I am applying. Sorry, go ahead, Your Honor.
No, go ahead.
So I am applying to multiple jobs within the Austin area in order to get a salary, stable career to get back on my feet and take care of the car and also the rest of my bills.
So as of now, you do not have the income to be able to pay that car and keep paying it. Is that correct?
Right now, I have enough income coming in where I'm able to afford it on the payment plan that I have established with Ally Financial, the lender.
Your payment plan is to pay off the back payments, isn't that correct?
To pay off the back payments as well as the balance of the car monthly, correct.
How much are those payments going to be?
From the payment plan, it's $898.17 a month.
And from what I've heard, you've made $3,000 to $4,000 this year from your job. Is that correct?
From the JJP&I, that's correct.
And you have other sources of income?
I was doing the Uber Eats and DoorDash when my car was working, where I was making around $150 at the very most to $100 a day doing that.
You're making $3,000 to $4,000 plus maybe $100 to $200. How does that add up to $900 a month?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the relevance of all this. They're all in debt. No one has money. I think that's been established.
How many
Yeah.
days a week is he working for Uber or DoorDash is what I want to know.
I was working daily on that, if not taking maybe a day or two off a month if I was doing something else, like the weddings time.
All right, next question, Mr. Olding.
The Alfa Romeo was wrecked, was it not?
It ran over by a U-Haul. at a gas station, but it wasn't wrecked. That was fixed. And then the repossession, they towed it in a way that it wasn't supposed to be towed, which I had to get fixed, which the tow company, repossession company paid for out of their own pocket, which coincided to now my engine overheating once turned on. So it is undrivable at the moment.
So you can't do Uber Eats at the moment, correct?
I have not been able to do Uber Eats for a very, very long time. Correct.
And you understand if you stop making payments on that car and Miss Cook is still attached to it, that will negatively affect her credit report, correct?
Correct. I understand.
You heard Miss Cook's testimony regarding some of the cruel treatment she's endured. Have you ever showed up to find Miss Cook when you were uninvited?
In what capacity?
Have you ever gone and sought out Miss Cook when you were not invited to be with her?
I didn't know that I wasn't invited, but I did show up to a restaurant where my family, her and my brother-in-law was at. Yes.
Okay. And you were not invited to be there that night?
It was unclear since I was asking to hang out with her the entire day. She said that I could hang out with her, and then she went back on her word. But I didn't know. I'm probably not invited to dinner that night. Correct. So I was confused, so I showed up.
And when you got there, did they invite you to sit down and join them?
Definitely not. No.
And then did you go move her car so she couldn't find it?
It was right in front of the same spot. She was parked in the spot that she couldn't be parked in. But yes, I didn't park her car so she couldn't find it.
You've heard the testimony about you turning off the electricity. Do you
Absolutely.
deny those allegations?
I turned off the electricity when she was filing for divorce because I was scared and I was quite frightened, to be honest with you, because I never obviously wanted to be divorced. Now, turning off the power to the garage when she abandoned the house to go move in with her parents, the reason why I did that is because there was constant break-in or people coming into the home to grab her things that I was unaware of.
Non-responsive at this point, Your Honor.
Let's let Mr. Olguin ask you another question. Your attorney will have a chance to ask you some follow-up, Mr. Baumgartner-Cook.
Sounds good.
You've seen the photo that was admitted of Miss Cook holding her own hair in her hand. Have you seen that?
I'm aware of the photo.
You've seen it before?
I've seen it before.
And do you deny the allegations related to that photo?
I deny the allegations that it happened. Yes. How it happened.
Are you saying you deny that you were the person responsible for that hair being pulled out?
I'm not denying that I'm not responsible. I'm denying in the way that she described how it happened, since she was very intoxicated. It probably doesn't.
Do you deny throwing a mug at her or in her direction that broke?
I never threw any object at her in our entire relationship. No.
Have you seen the exhibit that we've marked as Exhibit 2, which is the photo of that mug that I'm speaking of?
If it's the photo of the I love you so much mug that I threw into the sink and not at her, then I'm aware of the photo that was probably taken by her. So, yes.
Objection, Your Honor. Petitioners 2 has not been admitted. I don't know how he would be
You want
able.
to rephrase your question, Mr. Olguin?
I don't, Your Honor. We have such short time. I'm just going to move on.
Okay.
Is it true towards the end of your relationship you were covering all the windows in your house with yoga mats?
Yoga mats. Could
I
you
guess,
rephrase the question?
is it true you were covering all the windows in your house or some of the windows in your house to block the view from anyone seeing in through the front of the house?
I mean, there's blinds. I had the windows shut, but no, that is completely false. I have one yoga mat, to be honest with you, and I was not using that for that purpose.
Let's see, did you ever help Miss Cook with any of her business ventures?
Yes, she took $10,000 of my settlement money to start her business in 2023.
She took it from you without your knowledge, is that what you're saying?
She said that she was using the full amount to pay off the credit card debt, which she did not do.
Are you aware that she used the credit cards to purchase her business ventures?
I was aware that she was using her credit cards to purchase inventory for her Curious Blonde. Yes.
Okay.
Usually $1,000 to $2,000 a month.
How much would you say that she paid to get you leads every month when you were trying to start that insurance business?
I do not recall how much money that she spent, but the leads for contacts were about anywhere between $200 to $500 a time, which lasted me a couple of weeks, if not a little bit longer. And I used my checking account to pay for my leads most of the time.
You know how much she paid to start that remote closing career training?
She wanted me to do the remote closing training, and we were, I would say, bamboozled or swindled into $6,000.
I'm going to stop you.
Sorry.
The question was, do you know how much she paid for that training?
It was $6,000, which we tried to remove from the credit card.
Let's see. You've asked her to, in your proposed disposition of final issues, you've asked her to take on all the debt in her name. Is that correct?
The debt that was incurred after the marriage, yes. I've already paid off well, with the settlement, the debt was, from my knowledge and from her verbal, was at zero.
Objection to the non-responsive after answering the question I asked, Your Honor.
All right, sustained. Next question.
You agree that you've told her you don't want her to pay all this debt previously, correct?
For maybe before all of this, the last 8 months has occurred, I may have stated that, but I do not recall when I said that.
Do you have the ability to refinance your Alfa Romeo?
I do.
And tell me about that. What's your ability to refinance that out of Ms. Cook's name?
Sure. So I have been working on getting my credit score back up to where it needs to be through my company. As of 2 days ago, Mallory actually missed a payment on her Escalade, which tanked my credit score 35 points. So refinancing the car really comes from just credit score in that matter. So her missing that payment on that car.
Your Honor.
I'm sorry, what was the objection, Mr. Olguin?
Non-responsive.
All right, sustained. Next question.
What is your plan to refinance this car out of Ms. Cook's name?
I have a friend who works at the Chevy dealership who is a finance manager who has told me that he will help me get the car a quick claim deed and to refinance my car, maybe do something that's a little bit more practical.
Do you have someone who you've spoken to who is willing to be a co-signer for you to refinance that car?
If need be, I have a few people that would do that, yes.
Are either of your parents willing to do that?
I believe my father would be.
Speaking of your father, are you the beneficiary of a trust?
No,
In no fashion or form are you the beneficiary of a trust, vested or unvested?
correct.
Have you ever told Ms. Cook that you're the beneficiary of a trust?
I've told her that I was the beneficiary of a trust with regarding probably a life insurance policy that would become active if one of my parents would pass.
Are you still a beneficiary of a trust related to that?
No, never. I've been a beneficiary of a trust.
When did
Wait,
that happen?
what was that? I didn't catch that last statement, so I'm sure Ms. Crane
I've
didn't either.
never, yeah, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I've never been a beneficiary of a trust
Okay.
or currently.
Next question, Mr. Olguin.
You're saying that you're the beneficiary of a life insurance policy of your parents?
Yes,
I'll pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Warden.
All right, Mr. Cook, we have limited time, but I want to cover some ground here. Did Ms. Cook have any discussions with you about filing for divorce prior to filing?
multiple times.
And did you have arguments regarding getting divorced?
Multiple times, yes.
And I'm going to try to share with you, again, it's been a little slow here, but I'm trying to show you what's been marked as Respondent's Exhibit number 4. Do you recognize this document?
I cannot see anything yet.
Okay,
Okay, now I can see it, yes.
okay. And is this Ms. Cook, your wife, in the picture?
Yes, she is.
Okay, and is this a conversation between you and her by text?
It is, and just for the record, the edited is when I misspelled something, and editing only, you can only edit a message within 3 to 5 minutes of the message being sent.
Well, that was my next question. You're in blue, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and so you had to change a typo, and that's why it said edited?
That's correct. You can't go back into a message and edit it after it's been sent over 10 minutes, I believe.
So there's a response right under that edit. Have you edited this in any way?
No, I have not.
Yeah, is this an accurate representation of the conversation between y'all?
Yes, it is.
And you haven't cut anything out of it or added anything?
I have not, no.
Your Honor, I move to admit what's been marked as Respondent's Exhibit number 4.
Mr. Olguin.
Yeah, I will object that that the foundation can't properly be laid. It does say it's been edited. We can't see what that is, and while he can say what it was, we can't really verify the truth of that. So I'm just going to have that objection on file, Your Honor.
Well, I am going to overrule the objection and admit R4, and I judge the weight and the credibility of the evidence. So next question, Ms. Warden.
Okay, so Mr. Cook, this is a conversation between you all, and you're saying you're threatening to divorce me because you want to post naked videos of yourself in the shower and that you're uncomfortable with that. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then she's accusing you here about the way you've handled things and you're impeding on her business, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And she says she's going to hang this over your head every day?
That's what she said, yes.
And do you know about when these messages were sent?
June of last year, 2023, a month after we were married.
And during these messages, or in fact, during the year y'all were together, did she ever mention abuse to you or her fear of you?
No, she really didn't.
were the police ever called?
I called the, on her part, no, but I did call the police multiple times over the course of me living by myself in the house, and as well with her friends there during our separation period.
Okay. All righty. And you were on her health insurance, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And are you currently on her health insurance to your knowledge?
No, I'm not. I called Blue Cross Blue Shield and they have confirmed that I'm not on their health insurance, which was taken off in October 28 and backdated to September 1st.
And how did you find out that did she let you know, or how did you find out the insurance was canceled?
I went to go pick up my prescription at the pharmacy and they let me know that my health, that I had to pay the full amount for my prescription. But so I called the insurance company and they said that I'm no longer active on the not only dental insurance, but also the health insurance.
And Mr. Cook, I'm showing you what's been marked as Respondent's Exhibit Number 1. Do you recognize this document?
I do.
Okay. And this is a Blue Cross statement to Ms. Cook?
It is.
How did you get your hands on this?
I called the Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is on the back of my health insurance card, to confirm the information, and they sent me a letter of this letter here to my email that I had been removed from the health insurance. Since I was attached to the health insurance, I had access to this.
Okay, and I'm going to need you to talk a little slower if you don't mind. But
Sorry.
Is this an accurate representation of the letter you received?
Yes, it is.
You didn't alter this in any way?
I did not.
Your Honor, I move to admit what's been marked as Respondent's Exhibit Number 1.
Any objection?
Object to the foundation. There's no business record affidavit attached to this.
So, Ms. Warden, I know because it's not addressed to him. If it was something he received, then I'd be inclined to let it in.
I believe his testimony was that this was mailed to him upon his call.
Okay. I'm going to overrule the objection and admit R1.
Mr. Cook, just to clarify, was this letter sent to you?
It was sent to me. Yes, it was.
Okay. And it shows here that you have coverage dates from April 1st, 2023 until September 1st, 2024. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And April 1st was right after y'all got married?
That's correct.
And so did you, and I'm so sorry. So Ms. Cook never let you know that she canceled your health insurance?
You did not. No.
Okay. And are you covered currently by any health insurance?
I am not.
Okay. And did you receive any odd packages at your house recently?
I have.
Okay. And what did you receive?
I received a book on schizophrenia for dummies.
Okay. And was there any,
About a couple.
I'm sorry, when was that?
I'm sorry. I received the package about a week or two ago.
Okay. And it was a book, Schizophrenia for Dummies?
That's correct.
And what company was it sent from?
Amazon Prime.
And was there any return address on it?
There is no return address. No.
No sender address?
Correct.
Okay. And you didn't order this book yourself?
No, I did not.
And does Ms. Cook know where you live?
She does. She has my address.
And have you ever accused her of adultery?
I have.
Can you briefly tell me why you had those concerns?
Objection to the relevance, Your Honor. I don't think they have any active pleadings alleging adultery.
Ms. Warden?
I believe it's in our counter petition, but I can skip that question just for the sake of
Okay.
efficiency here. So let's just get to the credit cards, Mr. Cook. Before you came into the marriage, what was your understanding of Miss Cook's credit card debt of her own?
I was unaware of, I did not ask of her financial credit card debt at the beginning of our relationship. However, the only debt that I knew of verbally when she told me is that she had $100,000 stolen from her from Bank of America, and also her Apple Cash, which again, she reiterated the $100,000 multiple times.
Okay. And when you were, the first couple months of marriage, was there credit card debt on these credit cards?
So when we were married in March, there was credit card debt on the credit cards from paying from the wedding. And then to my knowledge, in June, when I received the settlement verbally from her, there was zero credit card debt that we had once that was taken care of.
Let me get into that. So you received a settlement of how much?
It was around $52,000.
And what was that settlement for?
It was for a car accident that I was in, that I was rear-ended by a SUV and tore a disc in my back. It was a medical settlement.
Okay. And did you hand over all of that $52,000 to Miss Cook?
I put it into a joint checking account and was unaware that she would spend over $48,000 in 6 days on her own credit cards.
So she did pay off credit card debt with that settlement money, correct?
To my knowledge, that she did at the beginning. I did not look into it, but prior to looking into it further through discovery, I found out she took $10,000 of that and deposited it into her own account and did not use that money to pay off credit card debt.
So she took it, was that $10,000 she took to start the business?
To my knowledge.
But your understanding was that all your $52,000 would go to the credit card debt?
That is correct.
So at any point during your marriage, did you think your credit card balances were at zero?
I did.
And you heard her testimony that she has 6 credit cards and you had access to 3. Do you agree with that?
During the marriage, yes. At the moment, I have access to.
Well, let me ask you this, during the marriage.
Wait, access to what? I didn't know if he trailed off.
Access to none.
None. Okay, I didn't catch that.
I think I'm hearing him better than you guys. I don't know why, but so Mr. Cook, during the marriage, let's say that year, you had access to 3 credit cards?
That sounds about right, yes.
And y'all separated in April 2023. Did you have any access after that?
I did not have any access a week before our anniversary when she filed for divorce. She immediately, a day after, removed access to all credit cards.
Well, that was my next question. Did she let you know she was going to remove your access?
No, she did not.
And did she use any of that money to pay for the Cadillac?
$12,000.
Was that on one of the credit cards?
It was on a few different ones. That was a joint decision. I will admit that.
Okay. So you knew she was going to pay for her car on your credit cards?
That's correct.
And you agree there's about $6,000 worth of training for you put on the credit cards?
Yes,
Are you willing today to at least pay that back?
I am.
And aside from that, your testimony is the $52,000 settlement went to all your debt.
Her debt.
And you have one bank account that's a checking account, is that right?
That's correct.
And how many credit cards do you have open in your own name right now?
I have 0. They're all closed.
But you mentioned personal loans, so I guess in essence, what do you owe to other people?
Yeah. So around ballpark around $2,000 to the lenders.
Okay. And then that's it?
Yes.
All right, just a few more questions for you. Just briefly describe to me what happened with this garage door. You said that people were coming in and out. Can you briefly explain that?
Yes, absolutely. So she left, I believe it was the end of March, first week of April. Not entirely sure what day. I was at home by myself. I would come home. One day I came home, the front door was unlocked. And this was when I did that, I did call the police, made a police report. All the guns upstairs in our spare bedroom were gone, as well as a few different items. So I turned off the power to the garage when I left the house, and either went out the back door, which I had a key to, which I would go out the back door, or go out the window, because I didn't know how people were getting in. This happened around probably 4 to 5 different times. I came home, the front door was unlocked, the window was open in the back, blinds ruffled. She didn't let me know if she came back to the house, if there's somebody coming over to the house. So yes, I turned off the power to the garage, because that way I knew, because she had a key to the back door. She had a key to the front door. That way I knew that it was not her coming in, because she would just come in through the back way. So there was somebody else. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay, Mr. Cook. So the garage door was because of concerns for your safety.
Absolutely.
Okay. And again, just briefly, we're running out of time, but just briefly explain to me, you said you were scared about the divorce and that's why you turned the electricity off. Just briefly describe what happened there.
Absolutely. So I came home one day, tried to talk to her about something that she was taking that might have caused a miscarriage. We were trying, and in that moment she said, "That's it. I'm filing for divorce." I got extremely scared, and I know the only way for her to like be prevented from filing for divorce over electronics, or because I wanted to talk about it, I did turn off the power because I was scared that, you know, I was going to lose my wife.
Okay, now let me ask you, got just a few more questions to wrap up here, that there was hair pulling and you've heard her testimony, and then you said something about it happened a different way. Can you just briefly describe to the court what happened?
Absolutely. So on her birthday, August 22nd into 23rd in the morning, came home one night. I was trying to, from what I thought I was doing, trying to calm her down. I held her, my watch, pulled out her hair extension. If it was her actual hair, then from what she says, it's probably correct. My watch pulled out a big chunk of her hair. It was a huge watch that got entangled into her hair. I never meant to pull out her hair.
So your watch got tangled in her hair and you think it was a hair extension?
She does have hair extension. I'm not entirely sure if it was her hair extension or her hair being pulled out, but she was extremely upset.
And was she intoxicated?
Yes, we both were.
Excuse me. Excuse me. All right. Two more quick questions. Why, briefly describe to me why you believe that she possibly committed, forget it, scratch that. As far as cash for the wedding, you heard your wife's testimony that y'all received cash for the wedding and then that was received before the wedding. Is that right?
Yep. So the cash, most of the cash came in during the wedding and 4 to 5 days before the wedding, when the wedding was already paid for.
So
upwards of $70.
I'm sorry, upwards of what now? It
was around $7,500 in monetary value.
About $7,500 in cash was given to y'all as gifts?
It was given, yes, that's correct, on our wedding site.
Okay. And do you know where that money was deposited?
I have absolutely zero recollection of where that money was deposited.
And today, are you asking that you keep your car?
I do, yes.
Are you asking the judge take into consideration the value of her retirement? Excuse me.
I am.
And are you asking the court today that she pay all the credit cards in her name?
I am.
But you do agree to at least reimburse $6,000 for your business venture, right?
Yes, I am.
Your Honor, aside from the prove-up questions that we could certainly do by affidavit later if time is tight. Otherwise,
Well,
I have no questions for this witness.
I'd rather get the prove-up questions out of the way. So it doesn't matter to me by which witness, Ms. Warden, if you want to go ahead.
I'll go right ahead. Mr. Cook, these are just some standard questions we have to ask of people getting divorced. Have you lived in the state six months?
I have.
And you're currently married to Ms. Cook, correct?
I am.
And y'all have no children together?
Unfortunately not.
And she's not expecting a child right now, to your knowledge?
My knowledge.
Wait, I didn't catch that. What was that answer?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. Sorry, Ms. Warden, next question.
No problem. And y'all were married on or about March 28th, 2023?
March 27th, 2023.
Thank you. And y'all ceased to live together as husband and wife on or about April 1st, 2024?
That's correct.
Okay, and do you believe that there's a discord, a conflict of the personalities, and your marriage is broken down and irretrievable?
No,
Do you expect to reconcile?
not at this point, no.
Do you know if your wife is asking for a name change today?
I'm not aware, no.
I think I might have missed a question, Your Honor. I'm sorry, I'm exhausted, but
Well, is Mr. Baumgartner Cook asking for a name change?
No, I will not be.
Okay. I think you covered it, Ms. Warden. Mr. Olguin, any more questions for Mr. Baumgartner Cook?
I do want to clean up a few things, but we're so short on time. I'd really just rather prefer to ask you if you really want to hear that, or if you kind of are at a position where you kind of understand what's going on.
Well, I mean, yeah, y'all have 10 more minutes. So if there's something you want to clean up, I'd do it. I mean, I don't know that I need closing because I'm pretty clear on what, what each of you are asking for. Although we can revisit that at the end. But if you've got some additional questions, that's fine, Mr. Olguin.
Okay, I will try to do this as quick as I can. Mr. Cook, you spoke about how some of this money was spent when you received a settlement payment. I don't believe you have any claim for reimbursement in your petition, but you have the $8,000 of that was put into your personal account, correct?
How much did you say, sir?
$8,000.
I believe it was less than that. A little bit less, but that's around the correct range. Around 7,000.
You stated that it was all that money was drained. Some of that was actually left in that joint account, correct?
No, the next month there was $42 in the account.
The hair pulling incident, you heard her speak about that incident where you actually pulled out the hair. You're saying now that you believe that's because your watch got caught in her hair. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because that's what happened.
Did you shove her in that incident?
No.
You stated, the $6,000 that she paid for the training. You also agree that she paid several $1,000s a month for leads, correct?
No, she never paid several thousands a month for leads. At the very most, it was $200 to $500, maybe every other month.
It was $200 to
If
$500.
that, and
Sorry, did not mean to cut you off.
no, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
It was $200 to $500 per lead, correct?
For a batch of leads, it was around that range. It ranged, yes.
And there were months where she did that several times, correct?
Not several times. No. There was months where I did it once or maybe every other month, but not several times. I bought most of my leads most of the time.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Warden, anything else that you need to?
nothing else, Your Honor, and no closing. I'm sure you.
I would like to call myself for attorney's fees, Your Honor.
Okay, well, hold on a second. So we're done with you, Mr. Baumgartner Cook. If you can mute your thing, you can come back on video too. All right, Mr. Olguin, as an officer of the court, I won't swear you in, but if you want to go through your attorney's fees testimony quickly, we can do that.
My name's Robert Holguin. I'm an attorney representing Mallory Cook in this matter. I charge $300 an hour. I believe that's a reasonable rate for the area and the type of work that I've done. With my experience, I've been working exclusively in family law for between 4 and 5 years. The work that's been done in this case has included a motion to compel for documents that weren't delivered, and the fees incurred for the motion to compel were over $4,000. The we believe that the lack of production from the discovery requests directly related in those fees needing to be expended, that we thought those were unreasonable and should be awarded against the petitioner. I'll pass witness.
Ms. Warren, do you have any questions of Mr. Holguin?
Yes, Mr. Holguin, isn't it true that you served me with 88 requests for production?
That's true.
And you served me with over 25 interrogatories, correct?
I don't recall if that's true or not, but when we had a conversation about that, and you asked if we were going to be asking to compel those, I told you that if there was anything over 25, I would not be moving forward on those for the motion to compel.
So do you know how many interrogatories total you requested from me?
I don't. I thought it was 25, but I suppose I do not know at this moment.
Okay, and then in addition to the 88 requests for production and the over 25 interrogatories, you also requested admissions from me. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and the motion to compel you actually set prior to sending me a deficiency letter. Is that right?
We did set the initial hearing for that. That was reset when we had that discussion. I told you you were correct about that, and we would send you a deficiency letter and reset the hearing to give sufficient time to deal with the deficiency letter.
And you sent me a deficiency letter a month after you set a motion to compel, correct?
I do not recall the timeline for that.
And did you ask for any attorney's fee? And we did have a motion to compel hearing, right?
Correct.
And we both agreed to send each other information?
Correct.
And do you recall how many documents you sent me yesterday morning?
No.
Have you seen any of the documents that you sent me yesterday morning?
Yes.
Is it fair to say there's at least 60 to 70 documents there?
And by yesterday morning, I believe we respond with documents at 5 o'clock on Monday, and they were the documents you were requesting, that included some Venmo statements and things like that.
And I'm sorry, so you mean past 5 o'clock on Monday is when?
No, I believe it was sent exactly at 5 o'clock on Monday.
Oh, 5 p.m. Okay. And did you request any attorney's fees in our hearing for the motion to compel?
No, we came up with an agreed order, so I reserved that for the final trial.
Okay. And did you let the judge know that that was reserved, or was that in the order that was signed, that those fees were reserved for this hearing?
No.
Okay. No further questions for this witness, Your Honor. I pass.
All right, Mr. Holguin, anything else on that
No,
issue? Okay. What I'd like to do is just spend a couple minutes with each of you just running through what your basically your proposed disposition of issues, like what is it that you're each asking for, just to make sure my notes are clear about that. So let's start with you, Mr. Holguin.
Yeah, essentially, as to do a short closing related to that, what we're asking is that the cars be sold, and you know that they're so far underwater, the payments on them are so high. Truly, neither of these parties can make the payments on them, and they're going to continue to hurt them in the future. And so we're asking that those be sold so the parties can stop being hurt by these negative credit reports in the future. Alternatively, if we're going to award cars to the parties, we'd ask that the Cadillac be awarded to my client, Mallory Cook. The proposed disposition that Miss Warden sent and her inventory is incorrect in the valuation of that car. They have that car at being valued as a positive $24,000 to $25,000. It is actually at a negative $24,000 to $25,000. The amount due on it is actually the $100,000, and the actual value is around $75,000. The same is true for the Alfa Romeo. The dent balance is higher than it was 2 months ago. It now sits at $28,501. We haven't seen any payment history related to that. My understanding is that he's at least 8 payments behind on that, and that it's after the issues that have occurred in damage is worth somewhere around $15,000. We haven't spent a whole lot of time valuing that, but that's, our understanding of a general ballpark for what that is. We're asking that Ms. Cook keep her retirement. It's not vested. Its current value as of today is $0. There's no guarantee that she will receive that money. Money to be received in the future that has not vested is not a part of the community estate, as it can't be readily ascertained that it will ever be a part of the estate. We're asking that she keep her business Curious Blonde. We believe that business is the only value in that business is her goodwill and the effort she puts in, minus the inventory, which is under $1,000. And then we ask that the credit cards be divided in a manner consistent with finding of fault for this divorce as cruel treatment. So in the favor of our client, all these credit cards are in her name, and so we believe that is going to have to be in the form of some type of money judgment or payment to be made, cash payment to be made in some time certain to her to deal with that. We are fairly certain that just like this Alfa Romeo, Mr. Cook will not pay this, and this will be something where she has to go enforce it and get a money judgment down the road. We don't believe there's any really great outcome for our client. So that's how we would ask it to be divided, as we don't really understand any good way to relieve her of that debt in her name anyway.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Holguin. Ms. Warden?
Your Honor, as per my client's testimony, he'd like to keep his car to try to work with that, taking into consideration with the court the debt involved. But we are, again, just asking that she be responsible for the credit cards in her name, less the $6,000 he's willing to put in as reimbursement for his business venture. Otherwise, she's been charging and going on trips, and she's been paying for inventory for her business and for rent and for all the things related to her business and her personal life, and yet asking to keep the business and him split half the debt. So again, we are asking that you take into account the waste claim that we have, and that he just be responsible for $6,000, because I believe, again, the testimony showed that he didn't even have access to 3 of the cards or knowledge of them at all. Excuse me. And I believe the rest, if I haven't covered it, is in our filed proposed disposition. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm losing my voice here.
That's okay. Okay. Well, that's what I wanted to run through. Is there anything else we need to take up? Oh, before we go off the record. Okay, so we can go off the record, Ms. Crane. I know you need a break. Again, what I need is that Excel spreadsheet of each of your proposals. So if you can, please email those to Ms. Gould as soon as you possibly can. That'll help me try to, oh, but you know what, Ms. Crane, can you go back on the record just so I can go ahead and grant the divorce? Sorry. All right, so we're back on the record. After hearing the requisite evidence, I can grant the divorce as of today. Ms. Bromledge, did you want any type of a name change today?
Yes, just back to my original name prior to the marriage.
Okay, had you changed it when you got married? Okay, so that would be just Mallory Bramlage. I'm sorry if I'm
Mallory Catherine Kistler Bramlage, yes.
Mallory Catherine Kistler Bramlage. Okay, just so we can make sure we get that on the record. So I can grant the divorce as of today, and I can order the name change. The property division, I will be taking under advisement. And as we've discussed, I expect Excel spreadsheets on what you each propose as soon as possible. If you can get those to Ms. Gould, I would appreciate it. And we can go back off the record. All right, folks.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, but I can send the Excel right now. And my only concern is what Mr. Holguin brought up, that hers looks like asset now as a car when it's actually negative. I can either tweak that, or you just make a mental note and I can forward it right now.
Well, and
you could, Mr. Holguin.
yeah, I'll send one as well that has it where it is flipped around. So I'll send one as well for you if that helps.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, I've got the note, Miss Warden, and in my notes, but I think what I'd like to see is each of your proposed,
The whole pie.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a reminder of what you're each requesting.
Of course.
Okay, so
Alrighty.
then with that, I will excuse you from the Zoom.
Thank you, Your Honor. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you,
Thank you. Oh, and please let your witnesses know, I think Miss Janelle Bramlage is still in the waiting room. Please let her know that we've concluded.